Hello, I'm Scott Bogey. I did an interview with Tyler Stout ahead of his Fury FC 95 fight against Aaron Peterson. Enjoy. How are you doing today?
I'm great, man.
And speaking about your last fight, to start off with, uh, it was sadly a defeat to, I think it was Atorian Cook for the FOF Flyweight Championship. How did you think that fight went?
Man, I think if I had to lose my belt to anybody, it should have been to Torian, man. He showed up on that night, and he's another fighter from Louisville, just like me, just trying to make it out. So nothing but respect to Torian. You know, I've got excuses going into that fight, but it is what it is, man. I showed up for a scrap, and if you go and watch my other fights, obviously that one's a little different. I feel like I showed up a little different, but I got my reasons for that. But we won't talk about all that. He did his thing. He showed up, and it is what it is, man. No matter what, I win or lose, I still put on a good performance. And seems like every time I go out there, it's the fight of the night type of show, regardless.
Exactly. And you are making your Fury FC debut, and it is your professional debut as well. How are the feelings building up to that first professional fight?
Man, I feel great, man. Really, honestly, with you, I'm in really good shape. My health is at 100%. I was supposed to make my debut for Fury a little bit ago, but I had an eye injury that actually took me out of the fight. My eye got injured on fight week, and I ended up having to get rescheduled. So I basically had a mini camp before I had this camp. You know, I was out with an injury for about 2.5, 3 weeks, and before I jump back in. But I'm in really good fight shape. My skills are there. My reads are there. I'm just all around feeling great, man. No matter where the fight goes, wherever this guy thinks he wants to take it, I'm ready for anything and everything, and I think I can finish the fight no matter where it goes.
And speaking from your last fight to this fight, what do you think you've improved on the most?
Everything, man. I got the weight cut dialed in, my cardio's dialed in, my striking, making reads, and just being composed, man. If you go and watch some of my other fights compared to my last one, that last one I just jumped straight into the fire, man. I wasn't really too composed. I fed into the scrap. You know, I gave a Torian that type of fight. Usually I don't give guys that type of fight. If you watch my fight before that, where I had a knockout of the year contender, first round knockout with a head kick into a knee. You know, I dealt with pressure two different ways. You know, that guy came after me just like a Torian did, but the difference was the composure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And how did this fight come about? Like, did you have offers elsewhere? Did you have different opponents that was scheduled?
Yeah, actually, this fight came through with my manager Ed Barnett with ECB Sports Management, and I signed with him after my last amateur fight. And he just, it seems like Fury FC's got the flyweight roster that we're looking for. They seem to be the gates to the UFC for as far as flyweights. And if you're a flyweight, the UFC is really the place that you want to be because I know, PFL. I don't even think they have a flyweight roster. Bellator is pretty much PFL now, and then one championship. A lot of that stuff's overseas. So if you're a 125 pounder, man, you really want to be in the UFC as far as becoming a star, making a career out of fighting, making money. So that was the initial thought process with that. But yeah, I had a couple other offers, man. But the Fury FC was definitely the one that I wanted to jump on, and that was the one that I was advised to jump on too. So
Yeah, exactly. And do you feel like with the Fury FC being onto the UFC Fight Pass, that brings more eyes onto this fight for you?
absolutely, man. If you go and look at the card actually on Tapology, it's lined up. It looks like so far we're the eighth fight, which is I think the second fight on the main card. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we're going to have a lot of eyes on us as far as, Texas and Fury FC, just with the eyes that they bring to the table. But I bring a lot of eyes myself, man. I started fighting in Florida. I fought in Tennessee. I fought in Kentucky. Uh, I've got a good fan base myself, man. Especially for being an amateur, I feel like a lot of people actually knew who I was. And I'm actually, a pretty good sized name in my city, man. I got a lot of support behind me in Louisville. And I feel like I bring good eyes to the table too. I've actually got people coming to Dallas to come see the fight. I've got people that are going to be watching on UFC Fight Pass. I got people that don't have Fight Pass that are going to get it just to watch me. And I think the opportunities are endless after I get through this fight and put on a good performance, man.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking about your this fight, it is on, like you're saying, it was on the Fight Pass. Do you feel like it will bring you into that, maybe get you a title eliminator if you are able to get the victory?
I'm not sure what the experience that these guys have, like for Fury FC title holders. I'm not sure how many fights they're looking for guys to get. I'm not sure how many fights the champion has. I'm not even sure who their champion is. I don't really care, honestly. I got a 4 fight deal with Fury FC. If they want to offer me a title fight, that's cool. If not, I'm definitely trying to get through my 4 fights and put on good shows, get wins, man. And my main goal is to get in the UFC, bro. I don't really care about a regional scene title. I never really cared about amateur titles. Um, my goal is to put on the best performance, win or lose, show out, man, and show out, show up and show out. And that's my goal is to get through these 4 fights and hopefully the gates to the UFC just, I come pouring in, man. So these guys need to be on the lookout, bro, regardless of who's standing across from me in that cage, whether it's the 1-0 guy that I'm fighting now, um, and whether it's the champion of whoever, man, it doesn't matter. My goal is to get through these 4 fights and hopefully be knocking on the doors to the UFC.
Yeah, exactly. And the champion that it is in Fury FC, it is rumored that you might be heading to the UFC, so the wife would leave the title vacant for people to fight over. Now, you have just been a flyweight your whole career. Now, is this the natural weight class for you, or would you ever move up to bantamweight?
I mean, I'm 27 years old, man. I've got 11 amateur fights that I've fought at flyweight. Every single fight I fought at flyweight, like you said. Their limit there was 26, and then for title fights, I've had to make 25 on the dot. In Kentucky, there's a 2 pound allowance unless it's a title fight. So I mean, I've had a little bit of allowance here and there. I've had to make the weight on the dot. I've been given the 1 pound allowance like everywhere else, 26 flat. I've definitely gotten bigger in between each fight and in between each weight cut. I think my body's just naturally growing as I grow to a grown man. Uh, but I mean, we'll see, man. Like I said, I'm 27 years old. I'm thinking, who knows by the time I'm 32, 33, I could be, I'm already a big flyweight. I could be even bigger. So it might be, we'll just see how the health goes, man. As long as I'm gonna stay at flyweight, as long as the weight cut is safe and healthy for me, and I'm able to perform in the cage. That's really the main thought process for me about being a flyweight. If I need to go up, I will. I don't have an issue going up, but I know these guys at 35 are also cutting a lot of weight. I mean, I know 35ers that walk around at 155, 150, man, and they make that weight cut. I don't want about 10, 12 pounds lighter than that, bro. So definitely if I did go up the bantamweight, I would have to do a lot more strength and conditioning and put on a little bit of muscle myself. But I think I'm a good size flyweight, man. To be honest with you, the weight cut's really not that difficult for me. I'm more worried about performance, man. As long as it's safe and healthy and I'm able to perform and not be dehydrated, which I've only had one issue with as far as fighting that flyweight. As long as we can get through that and avoid, any unhealthy weight cuts, then I'm staying.
Yeah, exactly. And how's the training camp been for this fight?
My training camp's been great, man. Honestly, I've been working with some new guys, man. I've been working with my head coach Derek Dispinette with Team Wild Bunch. I'm working with the number 1 featherweight in the state that we have here, Bryant Haynes. He's actually going down to bantamweight. We're with the same management. He just signed with Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship. So he'll be coming out to my fight with me, and then he fights 2 weekends after my fight. So I'll be going out there with him to Milwaukee. And the training just been really good, man. I've got a group of killers surrounded around me. Everybody's everybody around me has the same goals as me, the same mindset as me. There's nobody around me that doesn't fight, whether it's kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA, or these guys are competing and grappling. Everybody around me is competitive and actively competing. And I'm training with bigger guys. I'm training with stronger guys. And more importantly, man, I'm training with guys that are better than me. I'm not at a gym to where I'm able to just go through and walk through anybody.
Yeah,
Every round I have is very tough. whether it's striking, grappling, wall work, jiu-jitsu, anything that I've got with these guys that I train with is very tough. So all these rounds that are in the gym that people don't see and all the work that I'm putting in that people don't see is very hard and very competitive. And these guys are pushing me to the limit, man. And I just feel like it's exactly what I needed. Especially if you want to be a professional in this sport, especially if you have potential to go to the UFC, you need guys like that around you. And you just don't need people that are slacking off, man. A lot of guys they want to fight, or they're still amateurs and they fight, and they just they don't want to fight outside the state. They only want to fight for one local promotion. And it's just like, man, how serious do you really take this, dude? Because I've had 11 fights as an amateur, and I've fought all across the country.
Yeah.
You know, I fought for amateur titles across the country. I've been the home guy. I've been the away guy. I fought high level wrestlers. I fought guys that went and trained in Thailand just to go fight me. Um, I mean, I fought guys that I had know nothing about, man. I fought guys on 5 days notice. It's just I'm down to put in that experience. I'm down to learn those lessons. I'm down to teach guys the lessons that they ain't figured out yet. And that's my thought process about that, man.
And with your opponent, he is actually from Texas, which is where Fury 95 is coming from. Do you feel like the fans are going to be on his side? And how do you think that will play a factor into this fight?
Man, I don't know how much fans this guy really has. I don't really know much about him about that. The only thing I know is what the film tells me and my team. I'm assuming that since he's from Dallas and the fight's in Dallas, he'll probably have the crowd will probably be on his side because they're announcing him from Dallas. I know he's at Fortis MMA, but I know he's not the only guy on the card from Fortis MMA, so all that stuff could carry over to him as well. But like I said, man, I've been the away guy. That's really not an issue for me at all. I don't feel like any pressure's on me, even though I deal with pressure well. Uh, but yeah, man, I mean, I feel like if this fight was in my hometown, you you wouldn't even be able to hear I wouldn't even be able to hear my corners trying to coach me during the fight, bro. Even in between rounds. If you go and watch my future fighting fights in the B2 fighting series that I had in Kentucky, dude, the crowd is off the chain. I definitely feed off the crowd. I sell a lot of tickets. I bring a lot of eyes to the table. So if this fight was in Louisville, man, I'd blow the roof off that place. So I'm looking to go to Dallas and take all his fans and take these UFC Fight Pass eyes and put them on me, man. And hopefully I can get everybody behind me. But my words mean nothing. My fights and my skill set proves everything, man. Like I've said, every time I show out, it's a fight of the night performance. No matter what the situation is, no matter who the opponent is, man, I put on a show. One of my favorite fighters is Justin Gaethje, bro. I've learned a lot watching him and studying him and Trevor Whitman, and I mean, I'm a banger, dude. I don't know how many fights you've seen of me, but I'm telling you, I go out there and I put it all on the line, bro, and everybody loves me by the end of it. If you
Exactly.
don't know me, you're gonna find out, and I promise you'll love me.
Exactly. And if you are able to go out there, get some shots in there, you never know, might turn some of the fans onto your side. Now, speaking about this, you're saying that you're from Louisville. How big was it about the UFC coming to Louisville? How did that bring up the game in the MMA scene?
That was huge, man. UFC coming to Louisville was huge because they came here once, and I think it was they had UFC had an issue with the athletic commission one time, and they never came back until recently. And when they did come back, man, they had one of the highest selling fight night gates that they've ever had. And not only that, the show itself, every single fight on that card was fire. The crowd was fire. I know the fighters fed off that crowd. And we don't really have many guys from Louisville that's even made it to the UFC or that's been able to carry Louisville on their back, even if they did make it to the UFC. So I feel like the UFC already said they're coming back. So hopefully I can be the guy to bring them back by that time. Uh, and I'm definitely the type of guy that will put my city on my back. And when I'm in the UFC, and if they let me headline a card or be on a card in Louisville, it'll be worth their while, man, for sure.
And how do you see this fight going? Like, what have you seen from your opponent to that thinks this is how the fight's going to go? Or do you think you'll be able to exploit anything from him?
Look, man, I mean, the fights that we've seen on him, I think he's an exciting fighter. I think he brings it. I think he's a scrappy guy. I think he's got, I respect him. I think he's got decent striking, decent grappling, decent wrestling. But I just think there's a big skill gap, man. And I think you'll see that there's levels to this fight game. This guy's had 3 amateur fights and 1 pro fight. I've had 11 fights, and half of my 11 fights might as well have been pro fights. So I think you'll see a big difference in between the skills. I think you'll see a big difference between the composure. And like I said at the beginning of the interview, man, I think I can finish this fight wherever it goes. I'm not, like I said, I'm going to be composed, but I'm not coming out there to win a decision in somebody's hometown, man. I'm coming to take this kid's head off. So I don't care if the crowd or the people watching. I mean, this kid might be able to do his thing or go ahead and get you, man. Because when I get me, the fight's going to change, bro. I'm telling you. I see me winning this fight no matter where it goes. To be honest with you, brother.
Exactly. And is there a card in the future that you are wanting to go on to? Like, do you have a targeted date that you're wanting to return? You're going to take some time off? How quickly are you wanting to get back into the cage, as long as there's no injuries from this fight?
I mean, we look at every fight like we're going to war, so I'm prepared to endure anything that I've got to endure. Um, I haven't had any serious injuries from a fight, thank God. I think the worst thing that I've ever had was a broken nose, but I mean, I've been able to heal up and turn around pretty fast from that. Um, you know, God willing, we don't get any injuries, and it's either a quick fight or it is a dominant 3 round performance, and I'm not injured. I'm willing to turn around as quick as possible. Um, I'm looking, let's see, August 2nd. I'm down to get in there the month after, 2 months after. It doesn't matter. I'm willing to, as long as I can get a 5, 6 week fight camp in, or if I don't get injured and I can get a 4 week camp and turn around, I'm cool with that. My main thing is I like to be dialed in. I like to be focused. I don't like to rush a training camp, and I don't like to rush a weight cut. But I am willing for short notice fights. I'm willing for quick turnarounds. And I know Fury's out of Texas. I'm not sure how much they do outside of Texas. But man, if I can go in there and persuade these guys to come to the city with a good performance, man, I would love for Fury FC to come to Louisville and put on a show, because we got good guys up here that they can bring into the promotion. And like I said, they got me, man. So that's what I'm looking to do, brother. Hopefully, by the end of my 4 fight deal, I might be able to get them up to the city.
Exactly. And you definitely do have the ability to finish the fights and persuade them to get there. Now, just before we finish up, if you are in the area, and make sure you go and get tickets for this event, it is going to be a great event. If you are like me and unable to attend, make sure that you watch it on the UFC Fight Pass. Fury FC do put on great shows, so it'll be great to watch. Now, how do you think this main event is going to go on the Fury FC 95 card?
The main event,
Yes,
who's that? Austin Lingo, and I know Austin Lingo. I've seen him fight in the UFC a couple of times.
yes,
I think I
Austin
guess
Ling.
who's the other guy?
Is Cam Tiki. He's 6-0.
I don't really know much. I don't really know much about the other guy, but I do know a little bit about Austin Lingo. Um, I think he's a scrappy guy, man. I think he's all right. I think his last fight in the UFC was Nate Landwehr, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, I mean, look, I don't really know much about the other guy, so I guess if I had to root for somebody, I'd be rooting for Austin Lingo. Um, I think Austin Lingo's a tough guy, man. He's got decent boxing. He's well rounded everywhere. And man, I don't got nothing against Dallas, and I don't got nothing against Fortis MMA. So, man, fuck it, we're rooting for Austin Lingo.
Exactly. And there is also a lot of other good fighters on the card to look forward to as well. I know Reyes Cortez is on the card, who is Tracy Cortez's brother. He's fighting Josh Walker. That should be a great scrap. And obviously, there's you on the card, as well as a lot of other great fighters that cannot be missed. So make sure you go and watch that fight. Thank you for coming on. Is there anything you'd like to shout out or like to say?
Yeah, man, I'd like to shout out my team and my family. Number one shout out would be Derek Dispinette, Nathan Two Bills Pierce, Zach Grasso, Bryant Haynes. I want to give a shout out to Lance Lawrence. He's another Louisville guy that he fought in the Contender Series and just headlined LFA Louisville. I'd like to shout him out. I'd like to shout out my sponsors at Uppercuts Barbershop, Pat Carter Tattoo, Gary Muncie at Muscular Therapist, and all my other sponsors will be on my shorts during the fight. I just want to shout out the city of Louisville too, man, and shout out to Dallas because we're coming to take over, boy. Let's go.
Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you very much.